Hello, and welcome to the next episode of the Live Your Spa Life show. Spa life is a lifestyle that accepts that accomplishment and harmony coexist. The spa and spa life, the SPA, is for seek power always, that power within you to do your deeper work in the world. I am so thrilled to introduce today my special guest and friend, Melissa Yamaguchi, who is a dynamic energy therapist, a Feng Shui, let me just say here, I'm sure this happen all the time, right? A Feng Shui speaker and educator, travels the world teaching lessons on balance of the individual through the practice of Feng Shui. She has been a student of Feng Shui for over 20 years. Her classes and seminars are sold out venues thanks to her humorous, might I just say, hilarious delivery. And she is described as the Erma Bombeck meets Dorothy Parker with a hard shot of truth. Melissa utilizes her humor mixed with self-awareness to encourage others to take ownership of their energy and their lives. Melissa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Diane. I've been wanting to do this with you for a long time. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, me too. I've been so excited about having you on here. And, you know, it's hard to nail you down, sister. I mean, you are all over the place. You're like, you know, anywhere from large corporations, post-secondary education to private clients. And, you know, you talk about the need for change starts with the individual. I'd love for you to elaborate on that.
Absolutely. You know, all too often, we are so quick to have a fix on the way our house looks, the way our body looks, the way our wardrobe looks, which is all vitally important. And it all plays heavily into the world of Feng Shui. However, it's all for naught. If on the inside you are disruptive and chaotic and you don't have a good assessment and a good pulse read on who you are. So my number one focus is always to get people to kind of dive in deep to who they are. And then once you understand that, then you can start moving forward with good energy and with good speed, with a good balanced speed, I should say.
Right. Well, I'd love you to speak a little bit about Feng Shui in itself, because I know that there's a lot of people that think of Feng Shui as moving your furniture around. Right. And how is it that, talk about the energetic aspect of it.
You know, the Feng Shui has been utilized for over 4,000 years, and it was predominantly focused on the Agricultural Society of China and understanding how to really lay the crops and to reap the most productive harvest. But the doctors of Chinese medicine really understood the value of the yin and yang of the body, of the hot, moist, damp, cool temperatures of the body, of the health of the tongue, the clarity of the eyes. And as I understood Feng Shui and began understanding where to place things, I would often leave my clients' offices or homes and feel as though I'd left them with just one missing leg of the table. Because I could make the house look really beautiful, but if in the tour of the home or the review of the blueprint, the client confessed to me that he was having trouble in his HR department or in his marriage, or maybe her daughter was giving her grief, or whatever the case was, I wanted to dive deeper and understand that aspect of it. So with Feng Shui, yes, your environment in balance is critical, as is your wardrobe and your hair and so forth. But understanding how you navigate through life on an energetic path was something that interested me more. So I took my lessons, about 20 years worth of lessons of Feng Shui, and I began cultivating it to the power of the individual. That's much more intriguing to me. And so I don't know of anyone who's doing it like I'm doing it. And so therefore, when I run into other Feng Shui specialists who are probably much more adept at Feng Shuiing your home or corporate office than or garden, when I tell them the avenue that I've taken, they're saying, which school of Feng Shui is that? Well, it's, I guess, the Melissa Yamaguchi School of Feng Shui, because I really started understanding the way we navigate through life based on our energy. And when you're born, you are born with this genetic DNA code. And it really, it looks, the algorithm of it looks like some really torturous algebraic equation. But if you were to analyze that, you know, we put it into rooster and horse and dog and rabbit and idea, you know, notions that are easy to understand, and earth and fire and metal, those are easy to understand, even yin and yang. But really, it's just an energetic DNA of you. So I wanted to understand how you navigate through life. What are the traits that have been identified already by the masters 4,000 plus years ago of the horse, for example, which is the energy of our dear host. So it's, if you navigate through and you understand who is the horse, how does the horse relay to certain energies in life? You, Diane, are a special breed because you are evolved. You know, and those of us who evolve in life and are always seeking to be better and taking a hard look at ourselves, we tend to navigate with a little less hiccup. Doesn't mean we don't stub our toes. As opposed to the person who says, well, I am what I am, and this is who I am, and you got to understand my daddy was like this, my granddaddy before him, and this is how it's going to be. Well, then they're really in a stymied, stagnant knot of energy, if you will, K-N-O-T. So I know I gave you a really long-winded answer there, and I apologize, but energy is all around you. It's in everything. It's even in, if someone gave you, let me grab something off my desk here. If someone gave you this crystal, for example, and it was someone who was negative towards you or caused you a lot of pain, stole from you, found out they'd betrayed you on some level, or you'd found out that they'd done some heinous act that really rocked the values of who you are, then this gift, even though it's in your possession, it was gifted to you, still has a lot of that energy attached to it. So yes, things have energy, but there's no greater conduit of energy than the human being, or than a being with the soul. So that's why I shifted and changed it to that. Whew, I'll take a breath.
Yeah, no, I love that further explanation, because I don't think people have, you are such a positive disruptor in this, where you've really utilized Feng Shui in such a different and unique way. And, you've talked too about how, life takes a concerted effort of focus, and it can be, daunting, right? Keeping all the plates spinning and things happening. Talk about the trick about being harmonious in this.
Thank you for that question, because it's one of my favorite subjects. The trick into understanding how to navigate your life is to place identifiers on what it is. In Feng Shui, we utilize something called the Bagua, and the Bagua is really just a blueprint overlay of all the major components of everyone's life, whether it's your career, your reputation, your health, your wealth, your relationship with family and friends, your advancement in life, your desire to travel, whatever those markers are. The first trick is to laying that out in front of you and identifying, this is my career, this is my relationship. And once you've identified each one of those, then you determine the emphasis you're going to put on them. Some people are not comfortable placing, some people put a lot of emphasis on their health. They go to the gym 2 and 3 times a day, but yet they find that their marriage is waning. So the trick to finding the balance is literally scheduling it. I am constantly writing and scheduling and putting into the phone. I put passion and energy into what matters most, and I've identified it on my markers. Once I've identified, and it changes. So obviously around the holidays, my markers are red and green based on my faith, red and green, and I'm really moving everything around to accommodate that holiday. Then around somebody's birthday, I emphasize that area. So around tax season and the lead up to it, I'm emphasizing the finance and wealth aspect of my calendar. You can't I've had people say to me, "Oh, I don't believe you can have it all." You can't have it all. Yet you cannot put 100% passion into each marker. You have to determine, I am dedicating this weekend to my marriage. We're going away for a romantic weekend. I am dedicating this time to my child. He's getting ready for school play, and I'm going to dedicate that time. Giving yourself permission to pull back on some aspects and push forward on others is really the trick to it. We and I hate to genderize everything, but we as women tend to think that we've got to just go full throttle at everything. And it's really unfair to everyone who is the recipient of that half-assed throttle. And it's really unfair to our health. So our heart, our kidneys, our organs, our lungs, our body is listening at all times to how we're treating it and responding in kind. So when we give it permission to rest when it needs to rest, to push when it needs to push, that's the trick. That's the only way you can do it.
Yeah, I love this because, so often people talk about balance, and, I believe that is such an impossible thing to achieve, that I really love speaking of harmony, right? About really this I've really not heard that before, where it has this intention about, hey, what is today about? Like, you know, whatever the today is about, put your energy in that, and then see what is more of the flow of your life and what that looks like for you. So I love the intentionality about this, because it's exhausting if you're trying to do all of it all the time, you know, to be able to do that. And so I love all the different ways that you're using Feng Shui. And I'd love for you to speak a little bit more too about how you can utilize Feng Shui to control your reactions.
Say the last part again. I apologize, Diane. To do
Yeah, no worries. About how you can utilize Feng Shui to control your reactions.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, give yourself permission. Forgive me for leaning forward on that. Give yourself permission when you get angry. Your emotions, all of your emotions, you know, fear, anger, joy, are all a part of Feng Shui, and they're all, again, markers on how you respond to life. So when this year, let me sidetrack quickly, and I'll bring the rabbit home to stew here. This year, we are walking into, on January 25th, this Saturday, we walk into what's known as the Year of the Metal Rat. Now, that is only verbiage that is easily palatable to explain how the energy is going to be emanating from the earth this year. And what that means is that energy is going to be moving in ways that we can detect, those of us who teach Feng Shui can detect, is going to be representing a lot of opportunity for irritation and annoyance. Whereas last year, there was really a patriarchal upheaval of energy. It really didn't matter who was in office where. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm saying regardless of whoever was going to be in office last year, or in 16, 17, there was going to be this huge patriarchal upheaval of energy, and we witnessed it on a global scale. Well, this year it will have calmed down a bit. However, on a local level, a lot of us are going to be experiencing annoyances and irritations and reasons to really lose our tongue, to not hold back our tongue, and we'll be snappy, and it's going to be easy to be snarky. Those who will prevail this year will really learn how to walk away, give themselves a 5-second pause before they respond. And that's really hard for a lot of people. I'm one of them. I have a tendency to fire very quickly when someone says something that I think is rude or unacceptable. All of us will need to pull back, take a deep breath. That's good advice anytime, but really this year in particular. So with Feng Shui, you have to understand that it's not that you're not in control of your emotions, but you must really be in control of your emotions, because things are kind of working against or for you at all times, the way the energy moves. You know, if you're driving down the road and it's sunshiny as you're leaving Los Angeles, but you're driving down into San Diego and all of a sudden it starts to rain, you may not have control, but how you respond to the change is how you'll be able to navigate the rest of your road trip, right? So as we're walking along in this path of 2020, there's going to be unforeseen energies coming, and your ability to adjust and adapt will determine how successful you are by 2021 when we discuss this again. So emotion is real, but sometimes you're being played. Sometimes you get a road rage when you think, why am I getting upset? That wouldn't upset me normally. On a good day, I would be driving down the road and think, oh, somebody must be in a hurry. Let them through. There's some days when people don't want to let you in front of them. And so like I said, this year, there's going to be a lot of that coming into play. And our best key for success is just to step back, keep a calm head. For some energies, some people born in some years who have some energetic DNA codes, this year, them responding with unkind verbiage could get them in a legal entanglement. So we have to really take control and pull back and not say what's on our mind sometimes. Isn't the year to be politically incorrect, for sure.
I love that. It's so helpful. And, you know, speaking of the patriarchy, I mean, what was it like for you? I mean, you were the first woman in a lot of different roles in the Feng Shui world. You served as the first president of the Professional Beauty Association, as well as the first female president of the Salon Association. So, and that was National Salon Owners. What was that experience like for you?
With the association, that I had the good fortune of being surrounded by a lot of younger women who were really wanting to get the voice out there, and not to take any energy from my men. the reason it was so important at that point with the Salon Association in particular was because roughly 80 to 85% of the industry is championed by women, and the workforce are women. So for women to not have a voice seemed ludicrous. That the number one perpetuators of the beauty and cosmetic industry are women. And so again, to not have a female voice seemed antithetical, seemed ludicrous. So that was the timing was right. And I had the good fortune, perhaps I have the strong core energy that I didn't recognize any rebuff. I did have some older gentlemen in our industry kind of not literally, but kind of pat me on the head, so to speak, and for being a good girl and not disrupting some of their plans when they wanted to move the industry in a certain direction. Just so happened that I agreed with them. Had I been antithetical to their views, maybe we would have seen a different side. But there's a little bit of that, but it was really a much older generation. Our generation and younger weren't even fazed by the concept that there was a female. And as a matter of fact, the women were saying, oh, thank God, about time we got representation. I have found that as I continue to move on, my mother's very strong, and she kind of didn't recognize barriers and push through. So it gave me the genetic coding to move forward, I guess, also. But I believe that there's a definite, if I can step gently in this area, I'll be very mindful of, this is a very tender area for a lot of us in this time and day. The pronoun association, my pronoun is they, my pronoun is she, my pronoun is he, whatever that is. It's a very tender time. And in Feng Shui, there's really no indication that there's something wrong with that, but merely to understand yin and yang. And I spoke recently on one of my tours. I was in Texas, and I was very tender about this subject because the vast majority of my audience were a younger generation who will say, hi, my name is Terry, my gender preference is she or they or whatever. So I was very tender about this, but I told them, that's fine. However, in Feng Shui, to deny the energy of masculine and feminine really goes against you. You can be whatever pronoun you choose or whatever position you take in life, but the yin and yang of you is, it's a beautiful thing. And sometimes you're more yin, sometimes you're more yang, whether your pronoun is he or she or they. So in Feng Shui, the beauty of it, I think, is so relevant to today's current events and the heartbeat of what's happening globally, because these old lessons that hail back from our ancestors, regardless of the cultural location, it could be the natives can offer information now that's so relevant to today. So whatever it is, it's so relevant because it's an understanding, again, back to my original statement on your show, Diane, it's owning who you are and understanding how you navigate. Am I more yin today than yang? Yin tends to be a little bit more tender and a little bit more empathetic, whereas yang is a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more determined. There's some days when I'm very yang, there's other days when I'm very yin, and some days when I'm a combination of the two. So I think that one of my favorite aspects of Feng Shui is that it's malleable. It breathes. And Feng Shui literally means wind and water. It's your breath, and it's a large composition of who you are. And I liken it to this living organism that breathes. And because it's moving and growing with you, it changes throughout your life consistently.
Yeah, I really love that distinction because, we need both energies, right? And to be in flow of those and to allow it to support us in many different ways makes a big difference. I want to shift a little bit here with, some people maybe have watched the episode I had with your husband, Billy Yamaguchi, and he uses Feng Shui in hair, right? And how he styles and in the energy of that. I'd love to hear, I didn't ask him about this, but who first started utilizing Feng Shui, and how do you utilize that as a couple in your home? Do you have any overlapping? What's that look like, having a Feng Shui home where both of you are in that energy?
Well, it makes for a lovely environment. And thank you for having him on. He really enjoyed it, and he adores you. I began studying Feng Shui about 22 years ago, and I noticed that a lot of the lessons and the principles of what I was learning were very similar to what Billy was already speaking when he was doing hair. He just didn't have the verbiage. Now, growing up in Japan, his maternal grandfather would talk to him about the different tenets of energy and how important they were, but he didn't have that. He didn't know Feng Shui. So when I began studying it, and I would watch him do hair, watch him through his consultation, I said, do you realize that you're doing this? And he said, no, he didn't have words for it. So kind of the chicken or the egg thing. I guess he was doing it without knowing it, and I began to study it and recognized it. So perhaps we both deserve the credit. And how does it overlap at home? It makes for a really harmonious existence, because both of us have a very clear understanding that we are vibrating live energetic fields, and as the earth emanates, the energy emanates from the earth, both of us respond to it differently. For example, on a daily basis, we take a pulse reading of how your energy is vibrating. Now, I happen to offer that. I give people a daily assessment of how they're vibrating. So there's 4 indicators of vibration. You're either vibrating really high, which is, go get a lottery ticket and don't, just have a good life. But there's also high-low, where it's predominantly high. You're having a really brilliant day, and then there may be a few snafus. You may spill coffee on your white pants, no big deal. But then there's a low-high day, where it's predominantly irritating aspects of it with a little bit of glory. So it's you could get a speeding ticket, but you get home and you got a refund from the tax, from the IRS. And then there's low. And I've had clients say, do I need to stay home on low days or just put the blanket over my head? No. But it does force you to be keenly aware, antenna up, and be cognizant of everything going on around you. Don't just sign a contract without looking at it. Don't speed down the road without your seatbelt on and talk on the phone. Don't take risks and chances on that day. Be mindful of how you speak. It's a day, the reason that I'm, again, in love with this concept of understanding how you're moving every day, is because it allows you to be in control of your life. It allows you to take responsibility. We're not doormats. We're not meant to lie down on the ground and have people step all over us and use excuses. Well, you don't understand. I do understand. There's not one that walks among us who has not suffered on some level through some abuse or some atrocity in life. We've all suffered on some level, some more than others, but it's not a competition. We're all suffering on some level. The trick and the key is to get back up and to continue to push forward and own this day, own who I am. How am I vibrating? If I'm low, and you say something that would irritate me because my energy is not right, it would behoove me, in order for us to get along and be able to progress, for me to own that and say, you know what, I'm sorry, I'm a little off today, or just keep to myself, or say nothing and don't get into an argument. So in our home, I send that text out to everyone in my family, so everyone knows how everyone else is vibrating, in addition to my clientele. And it makes for, we understand that. When the kids were little, I would post it on the refrigerator, a week-long read of how everybody was vibrating, and they would quickly run down to the day they wanted to go to a friend's house or Disneyland and see what mom and dad were vibrating like on that day, to see how far they could push it. But it's an important aspect, and my children have been raised with that. Our children, I should give Billy Park credit. Our children have been raised with Feng Shui, and they have a good understanding of it. My daughter is a little bit more heavily invested in it. My son is keenly aware of it, though, and appreciates and respects it too. And the children they've lived their whole life with understanding you have to move energy around. You have to be in charge of how you navigate through your life. So yeah, it makes for a nice household.
Well, I love this. And I know that our listeners are on the edge of their seat, that they're going to want to know, how can they find out what their energy is? So, in a little bit, we're going to talk about how, all of you can actually have that and know that. And you've really created some exciting new ways to be able to get that. So we'll talk about that in a moment. But one of the things I always like to ask my guests is, about the environment. And I've been so excited to ask you about this in particular, because, you guys are so intentional about your space. And I always like to ask, because you feel differently in each room. Each room has a purpose. You feel different in your bedroom versus your office or your kitchen. So what is your favorite room in your home, and why?
Well, I have two, if I could be greedy here, and I'll explain them both with the same amount of time. My family room is one of my favorite rooms because it's one of those big great rooms where the kitchen's on one end and then the living space is on the other end. So if I'm preparing food or any of us are, the rest of the family can kind of hang out in that room. I love that room. It's a room of nourishment and fun, and there's a lot of laughter. And there's an area in front of the television fireplace area that kind of serves as a little mini stage. And when the children were little, they would get up and perform for us. And so that whole area's got a really cool vibe to it, and a lot of good memories. The walls are riddled with laughter. There's a lot of good memories in that room. The second most favorite room is my bedroom. It's a place of respite for me. I don't turn the TV on in the bedroom. I read. If I have to confess to an addiction, it would be reading and books. And that sounds like a little, like I have a girlfriend that says, well, I must confess I work out too much. I said, and it's not a bad thing because she's super healthy and beautiful, but I read and I have a ton of books. So my bedroom is this respite, and it's a luxurious bed. I put a lot of focus and energy on the sheets and the comforter and the pillows. And I have grounding mats, which are the earthing mats that are plugged into the wall that gets you that grounding energy. And I've dedicated a lot of time and energy to making sure that place where we sleep, and as Ariane Huffington says, thrive, that area is conducive to feeding and nurturing us in our slumber. And even when I lie in bed and read, it's divine. It's my favorite. It's a lovely room.
Yeah, I love that. We have a grounding sheet in our room as well, and it just makes such a difference. I mean, I didn't think that it would, but it actually does. And so, I mean, just the restful sleep and just the serenity of the room. And, it's interesting where I love to hear, like, what are the different touches that people do to their space, because it does make a difference.
Yes, it does. And I'm very tactile, so the sheets were really important. They're really, really. I vacillate in between linen and bamboo and 100% organic cotton. So depending on the temperature outside, but I have the foam on the bed that makes the bed even much more luxurious to sleep in, and then the comfort. Oh gosh, I could just go on and on. I may need to leave and lie back down because it's so.
We'll take a little nap and we'll come back and chat later.
I have a filter in the room that really cleans out the air. We have a really nice Dyson cooler in case, because I am in that time of my life when I get a little bit hot, unpredictable snow at night. So everything's just set up to support, so that when we wake up in the morning, we've been well nurtured through our sleep.
Yeah, I love that. Well, along these lines, Melissa, you talk about how, energy moves in and out of our lives in different formats and in different representations. I'd love to talk about the approaches and ability to recognize them.
Well, once you've taken that choice to own your energy and understand how you're vibrating each and every day, with your words, with your face, with your expressions, with the way you move your body around, once you've taken ownership of that, then the signs are much easier to pop up. And you have, I start every morning with meditation. Sometimes it feels like it's 2 minutes long and I didn't get enough time because I'm running out the door. But I still take that time to stop and kind of align everything and listen for the signs from the universe. And once you open yourself to the messages from however you want to clarify it, whether it's the universe, it's God, it's Allah, it's Jehovah, whatever that is for you. Once you've opened yourself up to that energy and allowed it to come in, you'll hear signs, you'll see signs. And really until then, I think that you miss it. You miss a lot of it. You miss the signs. Billy takes those write-off markers that you use on whiteboards, right? And he leaves notes on everyone's mirrors. And we always say that Billy's, his bathroom graffiti, because he's always leaving these notes on our mirrors. And he's always saying, look for the signs. And throughout the house, I have the word believe. And I initially got it as a way because I wanted the children to believe in themselves and believe in their power and that they had the answers. But that's still a main tenet of how I've raised my children. But it's also believe that the universe is conspiring to support you, and believe that you are loved. There's this infinite infinite span of love that is coming all the time. And wherever you believe it's coming from, just know that it's there and it's conspiring to support and love you. So once you accept that, then you can start identifying things in your life. You can see, you'll hear from someone that you haven't heard from in years just when you thought of them. That's happened to all of us. We'll think, oh my gosh, I was just thinking about you and you called me. You'll get a text. You'll find money on the ground. Now I have a girlfriend, one time she and I were out getting a cup of coffee and catching up. And as we were walking out, I found a penny and I picked it up and I said, find a penny, pick it up all day long, you'll have good luck. And I stuck it in my shoe. And she said, I can't believe people really do that. My boyfriend and I just had a discussion about it. It's so silly. I said, not at all. Money is representation of energy. And it's, the circle in Feng Shui is the sign of continuing life and a reminder that you've come full circle. And so when you find money on the ground, be they nickels, dimes, pennies, quarters, whatever, you must pick it up. And you can easily give it away and put it in a fountain or give it to someone else, that's fine. But you must pick it up as a recognition of that you're on the right track. It's a sign. There's little signs all around us. So once you kind of tune in to who you are and remind yourself to be open to the signs. We say it every day. I'm open to the signs. I'm open to whatever the universe, God are trying to tell me today.
Yeah, I love that. I love this whole idea about just recognizing the signs. I mean, so much in our hurried life, we don't slow down to see those signs and to really be conscious and intentional about that. Billy had mentioned to me about believe and about the word believe. And we've talked a lot about the power of words and choosing words. And I actually have a wooden sign that says believe. I've got two of them. I've got one in our family room. My youngest daughter, Elizabeth, created this collage of a tree of life over our fireplace. And it's gorgeous. I'll have to send you a picture. And I have like believe right by it. And I also have one upstairs by my shower, and I'm always looking at that word believe. And, my kids sometimes tease me because I'm always talking to my grandkids about, I'll sing like the song of like, bibbidi bobbidi boo and salakadoola mujika. I mean, to just believe in whatever it is. And, I think it's so important to have that childlike belief and energy and words that make such a difference in our life.
Diane, I cannot agree with you more. This is a conversation that I have with my children over the holidays when we were talking about this need for Santa or the Easter Bunny or whatever, the Tooth Fairy, whatever it was, right? And I said, it's vital to a child that you create magic around that so that they can believe. Why, Mom? And I said, because it expands a child's mind to realize that there's something more magical beyond mom and dad. There's something more magical beyond themselves. And it's this great expansion of universe. And, they admitted that the Easter Bunny was the one they least believed when they were younger, but they did believe in the Tooth Fairy. They believed there was this little fairy that flew in and that Santa came down the chimney and so forth. And I went to great pains to make sure that was true. I even stomped around with powder in Southern California. But my kids were little, they didn't realize it had snow, right? So there's this need to create magic and mystique, but it doesn't need to end in childhood.
Right.
I love that you have the word believe, as I shared, I do too. And I believe in the magic of life. Too many of us, again, have gone through too much pain when at times you would think, looking back, how did I get up from that? How did I wake up the next day? How did I get a job after that? How did I hire more employees? Whatever the case is. We all go through tremendous pain. And just think about our forefathers and our foremothers in this country who would trek across country in covered wagons and didn't know what they were coming across, or the natives who lived here and welcoming these new people on or not welcoming them, how they were going to survive. How do each of us survive the pains that we go through, traveling here against our will or by choice, and then coming up in this new country, or living here and going through a divorce or the death of a child or any kind of pain that any of us suffer through. The magic of that answer is that there is the universe or a God that is conspiring with incredible support and love to continue to move you. Life is not as cruel as it seems at the moment. You are being moved forward. And your job, really, outside of owning your energy, is to understand why you're here. Why am I here? I was a preemie. Melissa was a preemie and was not expected to live. As the story that likes to be told by my family is that the emergency cesarean as a preemie, and as I came out, I opened my mouth and swallowed a lot of amniotic fluid and went to it aside from being a preemie, had pneumonia in an incubator for a decent percentage of my life, early stages. And the story was that I was trying to talk coming out because I've always been quite loquacious and always willing to speak. But the magic is that it forced me, when I would always hear this story about how I almost didn't survive, when I decided to have children, when Billy and I made that agreement that we were ready to become parents, I suffered through 7 miscarriages before I ever had my daughter. And then the walls of Jericho came down and I had my son with, it was quite easy to get pregnant then. But why was it so difficult for me to have the baby when I wanted so desperately to have the baby? Why was it so hard for me to almost not make, like, why did I fight so hard to be here? I discovered during that time of deep dive, like, why is this happening? I fought through because I had to be here. And maybe one of the reasons I had to be here is because I had to give birth to Seiji, our daughter, and to Nobu, our son. They have to be here. So I've given the children, and some people say, oh, it's too much of a burden to give the child. Not at all. I've held my children to a high standard and said, you fought through. You chose to be here. So what's the game plan? Because you're not allowed to just take up oxygen. You're not just going to sit on the couch and run through life watching Real Housewives series, not to knock Bravo, but you're not just going to walk through, or game shows or whatever the thing is. You've got to get out there and live. So, you know, I think the greatest excitement we have in this word magic and this word believe, these words magic and believe, is that it gives you a driver. It's a driver. It winds the key up in the back of you that gets you to go, but you accept it and bring it in.
Right. I love that. And, you know, when we on this road, you know, and we're driving, we're believing, we're moving forward, and, you know, there's this thing, fear, right? And, you know, it can step in our way. And for some people, it fuels them. For other people, you know, it takes them out at the knees. I live, and this might be because, you know, of my being a retired police officer and undercover and all this, but, you know, you'd mentioned about a bullet, about you taking your bullet straight in the eyes. Talk about this saying of yours and how it relates to fear.
Yeah. So my saying always is that I take my bullet straight between the eyes, but it's also how I shoot. So I'm very forthright. I'm very, I don't pussyfoot around. I don't live in a lot of subtext. And so that's gotten me in trouble sometimes. You know, I don't suffer from Tourette's, but it would seem so, but it's perhaps in some situations when I'm willing to speak my mind. But, I live that way because I am fearful of missing out. And it goes back to that thing about I almost died as a child, as a baby. I wasn't meant to be here. I should not have survived. And my children fought through to be here. So I don't feel like I should take life for granted. I was raised by parents and that taught me that, you know, you don't have the right to be arrogant as to assume you're going to wake up tomorrow. You can pray and you can certainly hope that you get another chance, but you wake up every day with gratitude that you were given another chance. And so I'm not arrogant. I don't leave things unsaid. If you've hurt my feelings, I'll let you know, hey, that hurt my feelings, and let's talk about that. And if we can't talk about that, then maybe some people are better at texting and writing, but we get through it. So my fear is that I'm going to leave something unsaid, or I'm going to leave a stone unturned, or I'm going to miss an opportunity. Relationships matter to me more than anything. My friendships are very deep. I've walked away from a lot of friendships. You know, it's that whole reason and season thing. Some people are in your life just when your kids are little. And then as the kids get older and the parents discover they don't have a lot in common, it's fine to kind of step away. You don't have to leave angrily. But relationships matter to me more than anything. And as a consequence, I have omitted a lot of people in my life who did not serve me or my family or my mission are the reason that I'm here. I'm not cutthroat or mean about it. I do shoot pretty straight though. And I take an assessment, an inventory every year. Those who cause me pain, those who cause me a lot of pain consistently, I take a look at it and I minimize my interaction with them for them and for me, because I do shoot so straight that if some people it cause a lot of pain. They're coming from a place that they can't handle that bullet. So I shoot that way because of my fear, but I know a lot of my clients in energy have fears that seem so daunting that they can't get out of bed. And it's in Feng Shui, you know, we talk about time. And when you are suffering from depression, it is this fear that life didn't measure up to the way it was, the way you thought it was going to be. So there's a fear that it did. There's this sadness that life hasn't measured up. And when there's an anxiety, that is an energy based on what's coming and you don't have any control over it. It's like kind of this fear, right? So in Feng Shui, we work with that and minimalizing that with color. And people say color, and color has the easiest vibration to it. It's the fastest way to change the energy of a room is through paint, or through throwing a blanket over the back, or the color of a pillow, because color holds such a pure vibration to it. It's not political, right? It doesn't matter, you know, some people, you know, won't wear certain colors, but it's every single color on the spectrum has an incredible vibration. When you're going through a very fearful, depressing time in your life, it really is good to wear white. White is a very pure color. It holds a very neutral vibration to it. So it's not threatening and it's not angry. And so you wear white to embrace yourself, to really kind of protect yourself in a cloak of protection against any kind of negativity. That's why a lot of our spiritual leaders wear white, whether it's at the collar, whether it's in the habit, however it is, whether it's in any of their clothing and their wrap, it's white as a spiritual color. So it's powerful. It's a powerful vibration.
Oh, I love the use of color, right? How it can just change your mood, your energy, and it's such a great reminder of having that. And it's one of the ways I see you as a positive disruptor, is the way that you are utilizing Feng Shui and bringing it to the individual, and really looking at ways at how you can thrive and believe in yourself more and show up in a deeper way. And so I know part of who you are in that is like fully embracing life. And you say something about your focus about think globally, act locally. I'd love for you to speak to that.
We are more than ourselves. We are more than backyard. Yes, tend to your backyard. Take care of your home. Get this in order first before you go out and preach to others. There's a lot of our leaders who want to tell us how to believe and behave and so forth when their own backyards aren't cleaned up and their own homes are a mess. People have asked me for years to write a book on my parenting style or my relationship with Billy, and I refrain from doing it. Not because I'm not willing to share. I am willing to share, but because I don't want to ever come across as an authority, because I mess up like everybody else and my house isn't perfect. But if you think locally, if you think globally and act locally, it gives you a perspective of this, whatever my decisions are, this is affecting more than me here. It's not just about me and what I'm putting on my plate. How is my food choice affecting the farmers of Texas? How are my demands for certain products in my home affecting the inhabitants of the rainforest? How's my voting? It's really easy for people who've never had children to vote on our educational choices because they have a notion of how it should be, and God bless them. But what about how the people who have children are the ones who are more affected, right? So if you look at the global world, this understanding of energy as it flows, whatever takes place at any point in the world, eventually, even if you can't see it, the connection, physically, even on a physics level, will eventually affect us here. Mm-hmm. Even if we don't have the fire, although us in California can't always say that. Excuse me. If we don't have the fires of Australia, we're going to get the fallout. We were worried about our brothers and sisters and our fellow Americans in Hawaii from the fallout of what took place in Japan. So with how it was going to be coming across the ocean and affecting the oceans, the shorelines of Hawaii by 2017. Whatever affects any other part of the world, it does affect us. It does affect us. We can't stick our head in the sand. This isn't about a preach for climate change. Although I know a lot of people who are vehemently opposed to even that conversation. I'm not. I think that I refuse to stick my head in the sand. I do believe this is something happening to our world. You can study it and watch it. Global warming doesn't mean that there's not going to be snow. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to continue to have seasons, but it does shift and change. And we have to be cognizant of that. But environment is more than the temperature of the air outside. It is environment and how you view everyone else around you. And in our neighborhood, in the community where I live, there is a decent percentage of faction of families moving in and where the wives wear a burqa. And that's unnerving for some people. It certainly is, but it's unnerving because they don't understand it. And I will admit that there was a time when I might not have understood it as much. And who brought it to my attention that I wasn't being open-minded about it was my daughter. I'll give her credit. And so I began to expose myself to it more, to understand it instead of being afraid of it. So I researched it globally so that I could act appropriately locally, instead of, or looking at them in disdain or looking at the husband in disgust, whatever. I had to understand something globally so I could react and respond locally, whether that's my food choices, whether that's my political opinions, whether that's my voting, whether that is the gas I choose, the way I recycle, the way every action that we take affects somebody.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's that butterfly effect, right? That happens, anywhere in the world, it's going to have an impact. And I love the consciousness that you bring to that is just for us to be mindful of,
Yes.
every choice that we're making in our environment. Who does it affect? Is it affecting our immediate family, our neighborhood? It's like that ripple effect that goes out and happens. And part of this is I know people are going to want to stay connected with you and to follow you. And we talked about your energy, right? And so when you know your energy, you can also have one more tool that can allow you to act in what's appropriate for you, which again has that effect. So I'd love for you to share, how people can be more mindful about their daily energy and how they can get that.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to share that launching at the very latest, it'll be February 15th, but we're pushing for an earlier release. But at the very latest, February 15th of this year, we are going to be launching an app, and it's called My Energy, as in what's my energy today. So the app will be available through the iTunes App Store as well as Google Play. And it's a little, oh gosh, I'm so excited I can hardly talk. It's an icon where you'll tap onto it every day and it'll tell you how you're vibrating. You'll answer a few questions about your birthday. That gives me a good energetic indicator of what your DNA is. And then every morning you will receive, good morning, your energy today is high, low, high, or low. And I will give you a little tip on how to navigate through the day. Now, this is a full disclosure here. I'm a bit of a smart ass. So a lot of my quips and my little teasers come across as a little bit tongue-in-cheek and jokey, but the vibrational read is 100% accurate. And I've had people say to me, I did not lose a contractual agreement that I probably would have had I not paid attention to the read. As a matter of fact, my partner in the app receives them every morning. And he called me one day and he said, I think your app's made me a better boss, father, husband, because I pay attention to it and I bite my tongue, or I go full speed whenever I'm given permission based on what my energy is. So that'll be launched, and very soon. It's a 99-cent app, which that excites me even more because now it's going to be really available to everybody. Before it was too cost prohibitive. I couldn't promote it heavily, but now I'm excited about the opportunity to get it out.
Oh, I'm excited, and we'll be putting, in the show notes, the details on that and how to connect with you and to have that. I can't wait to get that app. So you need to text me personally when that becomes.
I will.
And then that way we can get it out to everyone. And so I'm sure by the time everyone listens to this, it will be available. So say again, what is the name of the app?
It's My Energy, capital M, capital Y, Energy. And it's going to be a little red icon with a yellow swoosh, My Energy.
We like swooshes. So perfect. Well, thank you so much, Melissa, for sharing your wisdom. Any final thoughts before we close the show?
This year, your number one word, we all pick words for the year, right? This is going to be my word for the year. I would like to encourage you to, if it's not your word, to add it as a second word also that you use. And the year of the metal rat, please stay focused. Focus. You're going to need to pay attention to everything going on around you, because the way the universe is shifting, there's going to be opportunities galore like a meteor shower. Those who won't be able to grab the opportunities are going to be those out of focus who are too busy arguing about something that's inconsequential. So allow the annoyances to step by the side and prevail by staying focused and grab the opportunities that the universe wants you to have.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I so appreciate that. And for our audience, we are so grateful that you're focused and being here with us. And, you know, your most precious resource is your time. And we so appreciate you taking some of that time here with us today. This is a collaboration. We talk about, you know, with what we do and our intention of how it affects other people. You being part of listening to something that is focused on having a positive impact in the world. How are you being a positive disruptor? You know, getting things like this podcast out, sharing it, you know, putting in, you know, subscribing to the show, putting your 5-star reviews, even just putting one line in there of really rating it and having a review gets it out there to other people, which then has more positivity touching other people. So if you know someone who you know needs to hear this message, especially for 2020 and focus, and Melissa had so much to share here, please share it with your friends and family and get it out there in the world. And until we connect again, live your spa life. Bye for now. Bye-bye.